If you're in the Ridgid platform, today's a good day for you. So Ridgid just announced at the beginning of this year that they'd be coming out with an outdoor power tool lineup. And with much anticipation, this has finally hit the Home Depot. In my area, it's in the stores. I think that depends on your geographic location as to whether it's spring in your area yet. But about 4 weeks ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago, I went to Home Depot and was looking for one of these, and I asked one of the associates. He said, I think that's just online. Obviously he didn't know anything about it, just because he's not too familiar with Ridgid. And then about a week after that, I was in the store and I noticed they had the Ridgid weed whacker and the leaf blower in the store. So I thought about it and I decided I'd pick it up, give it a try, see how it goes. So I've been on the Ridgid platform for about 3 years or so. I'm very satisfied with what they have to offer. They're managed and manufactured by the same company that makes Ryobi and Milwaukee and a few other brands such as Hart, the Walmart brand. So TTI, the company that manufactures for Ridgid, they're very familiar with making electric weed whackers. So this wasn't, I don't think, anything super new that you should be concerned about. Oh, I don't want to buy first gen because it's probably not that good. No, this weed whacker really surprised me in many ways. So first of all, it's pretty lightweight. It's an 18-volt battery, so it's not one of the super big, beefy 40-volt or 56-volt weed whackers or weed trimmers. It's pretty lightweight, but it has a surprising amount of power for the weight, at least to me. I think this was very well made. I think it's a perfect weed whacker for a homeowner because it's very powerful for the weight. This is not going to be, like I said, this is not going to be, as powerful as a gas weed whacker or, something like I think the Ego brand. They've got a 56-volt that I've used before, and that thing is a beast. This is not quite that. The Ego one can trim tall grass, and it just shaves it with no problem. If you're going to be cutting tall grass with this, you're going to be sitting there for a minute as you're cutting it. But it does fine. I've used this on a job already. I don't do a lot of weed trimming jobs, but I had one 2 weeks ago pop up, and I used it and it worked great. It did what I needed. It was nice to give it kind of a test all around. And I was like I said, very happy with this. I'd buy it again. I think it's worth 180 bucks. Now, when it comes to buying Ridgid and Ryobi tools specifically, Home Depot is the only authorized seller of these tools, buying them new out of the box, all that stuff. There is another store called Direct Tools that they're primarily on the East Coast. They sell Ridgid and Ryobi overstock items or factory remanufactured items. So something was sent in, broken, it's in pretty good shape, it needed a small repair. They put it back in the box and it's reconditioned. They sell those as well. I would highly recommend buying from Direct Tools because you can often get crazy good discounts and deals on your Ridgid and Ryobi tools. However, that said, this is just too new of a product to be in the Direct Tools outlet. I called one of the ones near me and they said, yeah, we haven't seen that come in yet. So with these, I had to buy them new. I had to pay full retail price for them. That's okay. I think it's worth it. Couple negatives about this weed whacker, and then I'll get to the blower. I think in the set they should have given it 2 batteries. I think they should have had 2 4-amp hour batteries, maybe a 6-amp hour, but that might be a little too big. But I think they should have put 2 batteries in this set. I understand obviously if they did that they'd have to mark up the price a little bit, but it seemed like the price was reasonable to how everything else is priced, as far as your Milwaukee and the other ones in the store. But still, to me, 380 bucks for this set was just a little much. 180 for the weed whacker, I got no problem with. I think it's 230 for the weed whacker with the battery. But with the blower and only 1 battery, I think they should have added another one. So let's get to the blower. So let's start with the things I liked about this blower. First off, it's pretty lightweight. It's not too cumbersome to hold for a while. It's got a lock on your trigger, so it's a variable speed trigger, which is nice. And it's got a lock on it too, so you don't have to keep your finger down the whole time. There is a turbo button, and it does detach here as well to fold up. So I've actually gone to a job with this blower and the weed whacker and been able to detach them both small enough to go to the job on my motorcycle, which is kind of cool. There's also a detachable nozzle on the top to give it some more focused or faster air, which I do like. I appreciate that. As far as the turbo button, kind of moving into the negatives on this blower, the turbo button doesn't have a way to keep it down without holding it. So it's seems kind of useless to have a lock right here. if you're not going to have a lock on the turbo. Because, at least the way I see it, I don't think you're ever going to use this and not have it on turbo. You might a little bit, but an 18-volt blower is really not crazy powerful. And because of that, most of the time you're using it, you want to keep it on turbo. I think the runtime for this is about 10 minutes. I think I already said the weed whacker on the 4 amp hour battery was about 15 to 20 minutes. So this thing takes a lot of fuel or a lot of battery to keep it running. But overall, it's an 18-volt blower. It's good. Now, do I think it's worth what they're charging for it? Probably compared to the other blowers on the market. It's priced right between Milwaukee and Ryobi, like most of their stuff is. But no, I don't think this thing is worth 180 bucks. I think is what they're asking if you buy it without the battery. This thing to me is not worth what the weed whacker is worth. This is a tube with a fan. Now, it's the beefiest blower they've ever made, all that, cool, whatever, but you can buy the one that's half the size, half as powerful for about $80. So is this worth over double what the half size one is? I don't think so, but like I said before, the only option you have for this is buying it directly through the Home Depot. You can't go to the used market on eBay, which I probably wouldn't recommend, and you can't go to the direct tools outlet, which I definitely would recommend just because of how new this is. So all in all, I'm super happy with the weed whacker. Not very happy with the blower. I think part of me is just not a blower person. I'd rather rake. But for the things that it's supposed to do, it does a good job. If I was buying this again, I would probably just buy the weed trimmer, and I'd maybe go on direct tools and buy one of these for like 40 or 50 bucks, buy one of the half size ones, just because I don't really need it. But if you need a blower and you think you're going to be happy with an 18-volt blower, I'm sure this is a great option compared to the other ones. I've used the Ego blowers, the 56 volt, and it's only slightly more powerful than this. So I think part of my negative analysis of this blower is just that I don't like them. But if you like blowers and you're on the Ridgid platform, I like the way that this detaches. I like that it's got a throttle lock. I think that's pretty cool. I like where the battery sits. It's got a good weight to it. This is a 2 amp hour battery on both of these. If you use a 2 amp, this obviously didn't come with it, but if you use a 2 amp, it's not going to have as much power. It's not going to run as long, obviously, but I think that bears noting. So all in all, I think this is a good power tool set. I think the weed whacker is great. I would definitely recommend buying it if you're on the Ridgid platform. But I recommend switching over to the Ridgid platform for this. Well, that depends. If you're on Porter cable and you need to get out of it anyway, or some super cheap knockoff brand, and you're looking into where you want to go, I think Ridgid is a great power tool brand. I've got probably almost 20 or so of their power tools, and I think they work fantastic. If you're on Ryobi or Milwaukee or DeWalt or Craftsman or one of those power tool brands that's a good brand, no, this trimmer is probably pretty close to everything else that's out there. I'm sure it has some unique characteristics in the way it was built. There is I didn't mention this before, there is a lock on the trigger. It's in a nice spot. It works. It's got 2 gears, gear 1, gear 2. It's pretty nice, but I wouldn't tell you that you should switch from DeWalt to Ridgid just for this trimmer. Now, I would tell you to switch from DeWalt to Ridgid for other reasons, but this is a great tool. But keep in mind, it's also the first one, so the next ones, this one's great, but the next ones I'm sure are going to be better. So hopefully this is helpful to somebody. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll try to get to those, and if you need anything, let me know. Thanks.